So I just finished a series where I turned $1,000 to $100,000 by flipping cars, and I was primarily with the help of car auctions. So what I want to do is just give you a step-by-step formula of exactly how to flip a car from an auction so that you could potentially do the same results that I did or potentially even better. And let me get into the first thing, which is exactly just what auctions to even try for car flipping. And before I get into exactly how to flip a car from the auction, I just want to quickly go over why it even makes sense to flip cars from the auction compared to flipping cars from something like Facebook Marketplace and other private sale avenues. So one of the big reasons, realistically, is because it saves time. There was no way that I was going to be able to do what I did with this flipping series, where not only did I turn $1,000 to $100,000 by flipping cars, but I did it working only 10 hours per week. And it was multiple months where I was able to do over $10,000 per month. That would be extremely hard to do with private sale unless I was working 40 plus hours per week. And it's primarily because a lot of people don't take into account the amount of time it takes to find that one car, right? You're gonna be driving all over the place a lot of times, checking out multiple different cars, wasting a lot of time in that process in itself, compared to just going to one auction where you could potentially get 2, 3, 4 cars at one single time. So that's the big advantage where it comes to just going to auctions in itself. But now, yes, that was just out the way really quick. Now we're gonna get into the exact process in itself. And for that, we're going to talk about what auctions to even use when it comes to flipping cars and what's the best out there. So we're going to break it down into 2 different categories. First, we're going to talk about people that do not have access to dealer-only auctions, and then people that do. So first, just talking about for people that don't have access to it, there's really going to be a couple different options that you can mainly use. For clean title cars, it's primarily going to be either public auctions, it could be police auctions as well that have some good finds as well, and then tow yard auctions too. That's really like the big 3 ones. And for tow yard auctions, sometimes you have to do a little bit more research to really find them. You could call up literally your local tow yards that's around you and just see what auctions they might have, because that's generally what happens when tow yards end up picking up cars from people. And let's say they pick it up for this town, a lot of times people don't end up even picking up their cars after that. They end up just having their cars just go up for sale at the auction. So that could be you potentially picking up those cars yourself and getting really good deals sometimes on them. Now, those are primarily going to be, again, like I said, for clean title cars, and you could get some salvage title cars in there as well. If you are open to getting cars that are salvage title and you want to go about that process, which isn't bad in itself, you can make a lot of profit off of salvage title car flips as well. But the main avenues would be Copart and IAAI. Those are going to be the main ones in themselves that mainly specialize in those types of cars. Now, I will say quickly, this video is primarily going to be talking about flipping clean title cars. I'm going to be throwing in some things that would apply for salvage title cars as well. But realistically, it's a completely different strategy. And honestly speaking, if you never flipped a car before from an auction, I would usually suggest not really starting there specifically. Now, when it comes to auctions that's just for dealers, the main thing that I would really suggest, of course, there are main ones like Mannheim, if you've never heard of that, or Odessa, ACV auctions. Those are like some of the biggest ones that I've really used in the past as well. But I would highly suggest, if you're a dealer, just sign up for auctionaccess.com. Go on that site in itself, get yourself an auction access number, and that's actually going to give you access to a lot of different dealer-only auctions rather than signing up to a bunch of them specifically, which would take basically forever. Now, really quick, I mean, we just touched on, all right, let's say that could be an option if you have access to dealer-only auctions. Most people don't. I will say I do have a program that I do, all right, because I have my own dealership where I help people with exactly that, where you can get access to dealer-only auctions rather than just going to public auctions and Copart and stuff by itself. You can get access to Mannheim, Odessa, all these other things without having your own dealership. There is a limited amount of spots. I already have most of the spots filled. So if you still want access yourself, I highly recommend trying to apply as soon as possible before the spots are already filled up, okay? And to do that, just go to the link in the description below and you're gonna see more information about that. But now, going past that, we're gonna quickly talk about what type of cars you should flip. For this, we're gonna use my trusty whiteboard here, okay? We're gonna go to class really quick. So we're gonna make a little grid like this. So we're gonna have time down here, okay? And that's going to be from high to low. And then we're gonna do profit on the side here, from low to high. And let's make a little grid like this. So this is something that I call the efficiency grid, okay? This grid in itself. What you don't want, or what you want the least of, would be this bottom part right here. Okay, this is where you're getting the least amount of profit and then you're spending the most time with it. This would be called a money pit. Of course, that's what everybody really would not want when they're flipping a car, right? Spending all that time and basically just being for nothing in itself. Then right after that, on the bottom right here, let's say if you're having it where you're spending not that much time, maybe only spending like a couple hours, right, to flip a car potentially, but then you're also not making much profit off of it and the end of it all. That's what I would call the break-even flip. And that's the ones that a lot of people fall into when they're just starting to flip cars. But let's say this top one right here, this is where you end up spending a lot of time, but then you're also getting high profits. So that's better than the other two. But these are the cars where, I mean, let's say you end up spending 15 hours, 20 hours, even more than that potentially to get the car ready for sale. You're doing all this different work. Maybe at the end of it, again, you're making good profit, but I mean, if you really start to break it down, you're not really making that much profit for the time that you're putting in. Okay, so this what I would call the life sucker. And then the last one right here is the one that you do want. All right, this is one that I would really suggest going for when you're just starting to flip cars in general, really, but especially with auction cars too, is because you can do, again, like a good volume of them and make a good amount of profit throughout the year. But with these ones, this is something that I would call the fast flip. These are the types of cars that you could potentially go to the auction and find. And first of all, these aren't gonna be the cars where you're spending, again, like a bunch of time to get ready for sale. There's gonna be ones that, if possible, you can get, and it could be quicker things to get ready for sale. Hopefully, max, even from a public auction, it shouldn't be where you're spending 20 plus hours to get the car ready for sale. And then on top of that, you're trying to go for ones that's affordable cars. Especially in today's age, people don't have a crazy amount of money to spend on cars nowadays. Yes, you're gonna find people here and there that could potentially, you know, buy cars like that, but generally speaking, if you're selling a car through private sale, people are gonna be paying with cash. They don't have that much money. So really, the cheaper the better. I mean, especially if you could find something that's just like a couple $1,000s, you know, to quickly flip for profit, that's gonna be something that you can make potentially good profit off of, potentially even double your money that you're investing. And then again, you can potentially flip it really quickly as well. Now, once we're past all that, all right, that's just talking about the types of cars that you should be aiming to flip. That's just something that you need to know before you even start going to any auction. But now just talking about what you should do, again, like let's say before you even show up to the auction, whatever auction it is. And one of the main things that first of all you have to keep in mind is to always check out the cars, if possible, in person. A lot of people just do the wrong thing where they just, all right, you see a good deal popping up online, because most of these auctions you could bid online. And that's not what you want to do. Just be strictly bidding online and never see the car in person, all right, regardless of what the price is going for, especially if you're just getting into this game. You want to try to make sure that you're checking out in person to see exactly what the condition of the car is like. And then going on past there, you also want to make sure that you're having some type of watch list as well, okay? Especially if you're talking about some of these dealer auctions where sometimes they could have like 2,000, 5,000 plus cars at that same auction. And you know, it's going to be hard to check out all those cars potentially in one day, okay? So you want to make some type of watch list so that you're prepared the time you get to the auction, where boom, you could just be on a mission. Just, all right, I'm gonna be checking out this car and then this car and then this car. You can just be going down your own watch list and have some type of strategy for what exact cars you're gonna be checking out that day. Now going on to inspecting the cars in person. First of all, I will say again, this is gonna be something that's gonna technically depend on the type of auction that you're gonna be going to. So just keep that in mind. I'm gonna be making more so broad statements. And I will say also, I did put together a full inspecting the car video. So I will post that on the top there as a link, so you can check that out, let's say after you watch this video. But let's say as like the three main things that you want to do when you're at the auction, first of all is just seeing exactly what the condition of the car is like. And when I say condition, you got to think about, all right, well, what can you do? Like, what will this car need for it to be in good condition? Not perfect condition, it doesn't have to be looking like some brand new car, but good condition where it's not looking like some hoopty, basically. So let's say, all right, is it rusting out potentially, where you have to potentially address that? Is there like a major dent on the side of the car, etc., etc.? That's what you want to try to look for as one main thing in itself. The next thing right after that is also checking not only the codes, all right, reading the codes, let's say bringing in a OBD scanner, but also checking the IM readiness monitors. And a lot of people ask me like, all right, well, what do you mean even by checking the IM readiness monitors? The reason why I say that is this is the way that you can see if someone, like the seller of the car that's bringing the car to the auction, potentially reset the engine codes or reset whatever codes were in the system before they ran it through the auction. And that's what a lot of people do. So the way that you can check that really quick is just by looking at the scanner, and most scanners have this feature, even like really cheap ones from Walmart or something for like 20 bucks. Going to the iron readiness monitors, all right, or iron readiness area, or smog check area could also say that. And then if it says that there's multiple monitors that shows up as incomplete, or if there's like an X there, that shows that that monitor has not fully been finished yet. And that's a monitor that could show that there's a code there. It's not a definite thing. It's a possibility, but it's a high chance a lot of times when they're at these auctions where, let's say, you can end up getting the car home and then those incomplete monitors will go to complete when you start driving the car around more. And then that could again end up coming up with an engine code later on. Okay, and that's what you don't want. That's going to be a lot of risk that you're going to be taking on yourself. So at least if you are going to be buying a car that has an incomplete monitor, at least notate that yourself so that you can be adjusting how much you're going to be bidding for the car, which we're going to talk about in a second too. And I will say, let's say if you're going to an auction and they don't allow you to scan codes at all, then it's up to you how you want to play that. You could just have it where you just don't buy cars that have check engine lights, let's say, if that's the case in itself. Then going on past that, the last thing I would suggest is, if you can, again, this is going to be dependent on the auction. Generally speaking, this is more so going to be for dealer only auctions, technically speaking. But if you can, just try to do a very quick test drive, even if it's just going literally from first to second gear. That's something in itself, just showing that it can shift and it shifts pretty smoothly. And if you can't do that, at least trying to just go into reverse, back up a little bit, and then put it back into drive and just see how that feels as well. If it's stuttering or something like that, or feeling really weird as it's going through the transmission change, then again, that's something that I would suggest not going through, which we just already talked about with the fast flips in itself, unless you're ready to put that much work into the car yourself. Now, after you inspect the car, the next thing after that is going to be, of course, bidding for the car at the auction. And this is one of the most important parts really of the entire process, because when you're flipping just about anything, really, the profit that you're making is off of the purchase, not the sale. So you have to make sure that you're purchasing it for the right price. And one of the main things to help with that is not using things like Kelley Blue Book or Carfax Value, whatever other websites out there that's basically just using algorithms to pull together a bunch of different information at once. I would highly suggest just going on to, let's say, potentially Facebook Marketplace as one big thing in itself right now, you know, that people sell a lot of cars through, and just seeing exactly what the pricing of the cars are there, and just gauging that in itself to make your own estimate of exactly what cars are like and what cars are selling for by you. Then what you're going to be doing to find out exactly how much you're going to be bidding is just taking that amount, that selling amount, and then subtracting how much profit that you want. And this is going to be completely depending on how much profit that you want in general. Is it $1,000? Is it $2,000? $3,000? That's completely up to you. Also, how much expenses that you're gonna have to put into the car to get the car ready for sale, right, in good condition. And then also whatever the auction fees are, because of course, if you're buying it from the auction, there's always going to be an auction fee. So make sure you're finding out exactly what that auction fee before you bid on any car. And that last amount, that final amount that it brings you to for that little math equation, that's going to be the amount that you're going to be bidding at, all right, at your top number. You don't want to go above that number, and don't get into some crazy bidding war and get emotionally attached to this car. Keep it at what it's at. It's a money-making opportunity, and keep it there, all right? Don't go crazy trying to get that car. Now, let's say, all right, hopefully you got the car yourself. Hopefully you got it for a good deal. The next thing after that is just getting the car ready for sale, okay? Most cars you're getting from the auction, you're gonna have to do a little bit of a process to make that car sale ready. And one of the first things you generally want to address is whatever the mechanical issues are that would make the car unsafe. Let's say things like potentially brakes being really bad, suspension really bad, things that's gonna potentially have it where if the person buys a car from you, they're gonna end up flying off the road and hitting someone or something like that. That's the things that you always wanna address first. After that, after you take care of those types of issues, the next thing that you wanna address is not only having it looking good, so of course detailing the car to make it looking good, but also having it smelling good, and then it tasting good. You want to give a good lick on the car. You want to lick the steering wheel, maybe lick the infotainment screen, see what it tastes like, because this is what your buyers are going to do. I'm just playing. Don't go look at the car. All right, completely ignore that. But definitely how the car looks and how it smells. The smell is a big thing in itself that a lot of people ignore. If people see the car looks good, but then they get into the car and they're like slapped in the face with some nasty odor, they're probably not going to buy the car, okay, for at least a good price in itself that you're trying to get. But now, boom, the car is all ready for sale, posting it up for sale, and that's the thing we're going to talk about now, okay? So first of all, the main sites that I really would suggest using to sell, let's say, a fast car flip like that, like a cash car, would primarily be Facebook Marketplace. Unfortunately, right now is like the main one to use. After that, I would say it would be Craigslist, and then followed by that, it would be OfferUp. Going from there, of course, yes, you're gonna be doing the same things as you should already know, taking good pictures and the lighting, all that good stuff. You should already know that basically. But the next thing from there as well is when it comes to the description. Okay, the description is key when you're making just about any type of listing in itself. And with cars, one of the main things that you also want to do is just highlight whatever the good features, like the selling features of that car is. Okay, like let's say for instance, does it have a sunroof? Does it have a backup camera? You know, things like that. Like you want to put that into the description so that the people that want to buy the car already kind of incentivized a little bit more to buy your car, potentially more than someone else's. And then when it comes to the selling price of the car, this is something that should be pretty simple. I mean, you already researched it before you bought the car to see around what the average selling price is. You just want to post it up for basically that same exact selling price, right, that you researched before. Now, going from there, if you did everything right before this point, then the next thing should be a good amount of people potentially hitting you up. And of course, just keep in mind, there's probably going to be a lot of high as availables coming your way. Just be patient, all right? Just be patient. There's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna be potentially hitting you up. But going on past there, just talking about the meetup in itself, like of course people are probably gonna want to test drive their car. I would say it's okay if you're gonna be doing this here and there, like you're only flipping a couple of cars within a year, then yeah, there's nothing too wrong with, like, let's say having them meet up at your house. But let's say if you're gonna be flipping a pretty good amount of cars per year, maybe like 5 or more cars in a year, I wouldn't suggest just giving everybody your address, your personal address. People can be very finicky when it comes to cars that they're driving, even if you sold them a really good car at the time that you sold it to them. So I would suggest meeting them at like a public place, potentially even like a bank. We're gonna get into exactly why I say that in a second, but let's say like a bank area or something like that. That's going to be pretty helpful, again, just to kind of like keep your own safety in itself. Then as the last thing, just to help so that you're not getting scammed as well, I highly suggest that you only take cash payments as one option. And what I will say with the cash payments, make sure that you're bringing either a money checker with you, or when you're taking the payment, especially if it's an expensive car that you're going to be selling, put the money into the ATM and just see if the ATM has any problems with the cash that they're giving you. The ATM generally will be able to see if it's fake dollar bills or something like that the people are giving you, using some monopoly money or something like that. And then outside of that, the only other thing that I would potentially take, if you're using like some type of electronic payment outside of cash, I wouldn't take a check, I wouldn't take anything like that. The only possible thing would potentially be Zelle. And it's just because Zelle is basically used like cash. Like once someone sends a Zelle payment, then usually speaking, they can't have any way, at least right now, to get that money back. Whereas other things, I've actually had it where I've had some people send me money, like a partial payment through, let's say, something like Cash App, and then they ended up reversing the transaction on their side, and I ended up losing that money myself. It wasn't a crazy amount of money, it was like $500, but still, I lost the money. So I would suggest not doing that yourself. But then that's it, okay? You sold the car, hopefully you got the profit that you wanted, and then hopefully after that, maybe you could either use the profit and put it towards bills, or even better, you could just roll that back into the next car and make even more money. But now going on past there, I will say, just again, just quickly putting it out there, I don't have that many more spots available in my program for auction access. So if you're looking for that type of thing yourself, you want to get access to dealer only auctions, make sure you apply before it's too late and the spots are all filled up. There's one last thing, after you watch this video, if this video has been good for you, I don't really care about the likes and stuff. If you want to do that, cool. I would love it if you just come back after you watch this video and potentially use these principles yourself and drop a comment of exactly how much profit you made off of your car and all that good stuff. Okay, I'd love to see that stuff in the comments as well. But that's about everything. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.